Good afternoon. It's January the 4th, 2002. I'm Mayo Livingston, and this afternoon Tom Bush and I are interviewing Frederick Smallwood on behalf of the Southwest Georgia Regional Library on his story and his adventures in World War II. Frederick, tell us how you got in the Army and how all that came about and where you were when you...
When I was a freshman in Middle Georgia College, 6 weeks short of my 17th birthday when Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. I transferred to Georgia Tech the next year, and in January of 43, I raced for the draft. I made it through the spring quarter, and then, but during the quarter, I took the ASTP exam and received a letter stating I had passed. This is the Army Specialized Training Program, where the government would send you to college after you were inducted in the Army. They had a program in engineering and medicine, but I wasn't interested in medicine. I received my greetings after I came home from the spring quarter. That's what the invitation came. Greetings, you have been selected by a group of your peers. And I was reported to Fort McPherson in Atlanta in July 1943.
And you were 18 at that time?
I had gotten 18 in January. And I managed to stay in college till June, and then in July they drafted me. I passed all the exams and was sworn into the Army on July the 19th, 1943. Turned in the ASTP letter, thinking that's probably the last time I'd ever see it or hear from it. This is the picture of how I looked in 1943 when I was drafted into the Army.
That was 1943, right?
I was sent down to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. It was a special infantry basic training, and all of us were in the ASTP program. After finishing the basic, I was supposed to go to St. John's University, Brooklyn, New York. But the morning we were to leave, I had a bad sore throat and went to sick call. They put me in the hospital. The rest of them went to New York, and I was in the hospital. Well, I stayed in the hospital 3 or 4 or 5 days, and when I came out, they were gone, so I hung around 3 or 4 weeks till another regiment finished that basic training, and I went with, they took me on to them, and I went to Vanderbilt University, Vanderbilt University, Nashville, Tennessee, where I spent a semester.
Well, now, what were you trained at? You just had the basic training?
Infantry basic.
Yeah,
Infantry basic, yeah. We got to Nashville, Tennessee to Vanderbilt in early January 1944. ASTP has a 6-semester program, which would encompass 2 calendar years. If you completed all 6 semesters, you would have a degree in mechanical engineering. Since I had already been in college, they had me in the 2nd semester program. I took 6 courses: analytic geometry, chemistry, history, English. Anyway, 6 academic subjects plus PE. And
this was at Vanderbilt?
At Vanderbilt. And I transferred some of those credits later down at Bainbridge College and applied onto the courses that for validation. I was taking the business courses. So I did get to transfer some of those courses.
Now, when you were doing this, were you being trained under the AST program to be an officer?
No, we weren't being trained militarily. We were being trained academically at that time.
Okay.
I assumed that if and when we had completed the entire degree program, then we were probably going to an OCS school. But in the spring of '44, war progressed, plans being made for the invasion of Europe, and they needed some more men over there. And they decided they didn't need the ASTP program anymore. So they discontinued the program. And we were going to be shipped in fact, they cut it a week short, and we're going to be transferred into active duty. The 160th Infantry Division had been at Camp Jackson, South Carolina, but they were in maneuvers in Tennessee, all around Nashville at the same time we were there in college. And it was raining and snowing and cold and bitter, but they were out on maneuvers all around Nashville. They finished our maneuvers about the same time we finished our training, the last of March, our school, the last of March. And they transferred about half or more of the division out and sent them to Europe as replacement for units already in England, preparing for the invasion. And many of them probably were in invasion.
Well, now you say what division now?
The 106th Division.
The 106th?
Yeah, they were there around Nashville, but they transferred all the men, a lot of men out, and then they stationed them in Camp Atterbury, Indiana, and took us and sent us up there as replacements.
Okay, I got with it.
They closed out the program in University of Alabama, University of Auburn, and lots of other schools. I'm not sure which all, and they all came together with us there in Camp Atterbury, Indiana. That's about 30 miles south of Indianapolis.
Now, where were you? Was that when you were trained as a pioneer?
Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
The 106th Division has three infantry regiments, 422nd, 423rd, and 424th, plus the artillery and engineering units. I was just arbitrarily assigned, you, and you, to the Ammunition and Pioneer Platoon of the 1st Battalion Headquarters Company of the 423rd Regiment. Had nothing to do with any kind of skill, ability, or anything else, just you, and you. Scientific. The company also had communication platoon and intelligence and reconnaissance platoon, but I was ammunition and pioneer. Our job would be to do some light engineering type work, road repair, bridge repair, but we also had a truck, a 3/4 ton, 4x4 Dodge truck. And they would haul ammunition and supplies for the company. And when they pulled D Company, which was our battalion heavy weapons company, 37mm anti-tank gun. They didn't have a truck, so we pulled that gun and set it up for them. The truck driver was transferred temporarily assigned somewhere else, and they didn't have a truck driver. So I volunteered and was sent down to the motor pool. So I was the truck driver. So now I got to ride instead of walk. The motor officer, I don't remember his name, took a liking to me and said he thought they had a chance to send somebody to mechanic school, and he thought I'd be a good candidate. Well, when I found out mechanic school was at Fort Benning, Georgia, I readily agreed. So I came back to Fort Benning and spent 13 weeks in mechanic school. After the war, when I came home from service, I used that skill and abilities and training on the farm there, keeping the trucks and tractors operating. But getting back to mechanic school, when I finished there, I returned back to Camp Atterbury. All the privates had been promoted to PFCs. They'd all gotten the good conduct medal. They'd all had 2 weeks furlough, and they were preparing to go overseas. Everything was ready except me. I was still a PVT, no good conduct medal, and no furlough, although I just left home. That wasn't any of their business. I raised Cain and I got my furlough and came back home for 2 weeks. But when I got back to camp, they were never outloading the train. They took us to Camp Miles Standish, Massachusetts for embarkation, for preparation. We sat around there about 5 days, and I guess getting the passage arrangement made. And then they took my regiment, the 423rd, and we loaded up on a train and went down to Newark, New Jersey, and sat on the railroad track all afternoon and early night. Finally, they unloaded us. We walked down to a ferry, stood on the dock on the ferry, crossed the river, and pulled up on the off side of Pier 39. Red Cross ladies there would give us a cup of coffee and a donut, and the Air Force band was playing march music, and we looked up, and on the side of the ship said, Queen Elizabeth, the biggest ship in the world. So there we were going to get on that.
Was it the Queen Elizabeth or the Queen Mary?
Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
Queen Elizabeth was about 30 or 40 feet bigger than Queen Mary.
Okay.
It was completed after the war started. It had never done in a civilian passage. The Queen Mary had been in service for several years, although both of them had been reconverted to troop ships and hauled troops. But we won the Queen Elizabeth. It was fitted out very austere, had plywood or something on the walls and no carpeting, nothing like that. We ate in the dining room and the grand ballroom at stand-up tables. washed our 8-hour mess kits and washed them in garbage cans, just like we were back at camp. But the Queen Elizabeth, they had loaded up the entire 87th Division the day before. I guess that's why we were on the tracks in Newark, waiting for them to finish loading. They started at the bottom and loaded up. And when we got there, the only thing left was main deck. So there we were on main deck, and all the rest of them were down in the hold. I was in camp, cabin M9, inside cabin. We didn't have a porthole. Cabin's about 10 feet square, and there were 9 of us in there. 3 bunks high on 3 walls, with enough space left in the middle of the room that about 2 or 3 men could stand. The rest of them had to be in the bunks outside. And that's how we traveled. It only took us 5 days to get to England, or Glasgow, Scotland, that way. But I think it was only, Queen Elizabeth could only dock in 4 places, I think. Southampton, which is on the coast, on the channel, and they didn't want to bring the ships in there because of the German submarine. New York, San Francisco, and Hong Kong. And Hong Kong was in Japanese hands. So that was only 4 ports that they could dock between at that time. So, but we got into Glasgow and had to go over the side and climb rope nets down to small ships and took us ashore.
Well, you said you zigzagged coming across.
Yeah.
Tell us why you zigzagged.
Well, if the ship had traveled a straight course, it would have left a wake behind it. We could outrun any German submarine or battleship, so we traveled alone. We didn't travel with convoy. And the ship could have seen the wake and radioed ahead to another submarine ahead what our course was, and they could lay the wake for us. But they slowed down to about 20 knots in the daytime and traveled zigzag patterns so it wouldn't leave a direct wake.
Well, you had 2 divisions aboard your...
We had a division and our regiment. A whole entire, we had about 16,000 troops and about 2,000 crew on the ship. We had a British admiral for captain. We ate British food, sausage, potatoes, mutton, and it wasn't too good, but we survived.
But you landed at Glasgow.
At nighttime, we traveled wide open, about 30 knots, and traveled a straight course. And it only took us 5 days to get there. We landed at Glasgow. And as I said, we unloaded over the sides on a rope net because there was no dock deep enough that they could dock it and we could walk off. They took us on trains and took us down to southern England into the Cotswold area, in and around Cheltenham. My company, I guess it was on an old estate where they built Quonset huts and a manor house. The officers stayed in the manor house, and we stayed in the Quonset huts. And we were there 5 weeks getting all the troops and all the supplies and all the equipment and get it assembled.
For your whole division?
For our whole division. Of course, 87 was there also, but they were somewhere else. I don't know anything about them, where they were. But we were in and around the Cotswold area. While we were there the 5 weeks, I made 3 trips to Liverpool to drive a truck back, a new truck back. And we were able to load 20 or 30 of us in the back of a truck and take us up there. We'd spend the night. And the next morning, they give us a new truck. We were supposed to drive in convoy formation, one behind the other. By the time we got out of sight, we were scattered like a covey of quails. And everybody went in different directions, but we all finally wound up.
But
it's him.
You didn't continue to drive trucks, though?
No, not regularly. I was just temporary assistant. I just helped bring some trucks down then. I was still back into the regular platoon.
You were training at Cotswold, and that was before the invasion.
The invasion was in June. This was in October. November. This was the end of October, November of 44. 44. And then the invasion was in June. See, they was already over there fighting in France when we were there. My job while we were there, of course, the infantry companies and so forth, they were continuing to train, preparing for duty, and we didn't have it out my platoon. We didn't have anything particular to do, and so my assignment was to go down to the water pump, which is about 3 miles away, and guard it, and to pump water up to an overhead gravity-fed tank at the camp. And except the days I went to Liverpool, and somebody else pinch hit for me. But so we stayed there for 5 weeks, and we crossed the channel on the night of November the 30th.
1944.
1944. It was dark, rainy, stormy, cold, but we made it across and no German submarines. We unloaded at the harbor, and the harbor was torn up. They couldn't dock. We had, again, I was on a Dutch ferry that they had confiscated, used, commandeered, and was using for troop transport. And other troops was on all different kinds of ships available. And I was on the LSTs, landing ship troops. And we finally got over to Le Havre through the night. The next morning there we were. And we were on their ship where the ship couldn't dock because all the docks were blown up. So we had to go over the side into LST. And it ran ashore at beaches and where we could get off.
Now, is an LST, let me interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Is it similar to what we've seen on the landing craft?
Yeah, well, they're different sizes, they're different, and for different kinds. Some is for trucks and tanks, and some are for troops. And the front end comes down, a ramp. And you can either drive a vehicle off or you can just walk off.
But you didn't get to drive your truck off.
No, I wasn't driving. I was walking. I was just back in regular duty then. And but we finally almost got off in the area and got ashore, and we had no problem, no German aircraft, no nothing. And we walked in a ways and assembled in different groups. I guess as the trucks began to unload, they loaded us up on a truck, my group, and we went inland. I don't know where, 20 or 30 miles. And by then it was night and raining and cold. And they stopped about midnight, and we got out, climbed the barbed wire fence, set up our tents on a cabbage patch in the rain. Of course, the next morning we had to tear them all down and line them up in proper formation. And
what did you line up in? The men?
No, the tents. We had to line the tents up in proper company formation.
Oh.
That night when we just pitched them in the mud, well, the first place we found. But next morning we had to tear them all down and realign them in straight rows. We stayed there about 5 days, waiting for all the men and all the equipment. One of the ships with the trucks on them had dropped the anchor as they pulled it up in Southampton. So they had one anchor left. When they got in the harbor, they dropped it, and the chain broke, and they lost it. They had no anchor, and they couldn't beach. So they had to turn around and go back to England and unload and reload on another ship and come back again. So that was one of the delays.
These were part of the men in your division?
All parts of my division. So that's the reason we stayed there for 5 days, trying to get all of the men and all the equipment over there and lined up, ready to go.
Well, did you have any activities during those 5 days?
No, just trying to stay dry. It was the pump tents were 2-man tents. You had a half a tent and your buddy had a half a tent. You buttoned them together. You had a tent pole, he had a tent pole, out front and back. You had a rope, he had a rope. You had 6 pegs, he had 6 pegs. So you butted up with somebody and you pitched your pup tent. Well, there was 3 of us as buddies. And one of the boys was about as tall as I was, and the other was shorter. So the 3 of us pitched our tent together. We put one shelter half on the ground as a moisture barrier, and we had one blanket below us, and we got in and put Bill, who was shorter, in between the tent poles, and then we had 2 blankets to go over us. And as long as you didn't touch the tent, when you touched it, it was sweat. If you touched the tent, the water would run down. So he didn't touch the tent, and he was all right. Well, our duffel bag was outside, but they were supposed to be waterproof and did pretty well. And we just laid around waiting for we got paid while I was there. Hadn't been paid in 2 or 3 months, I think. So we got paid while we was there.
And you paid in cash out of it?
Paid in wartime French money.
Oh.
Well, not real French money, but war money. And paid in cash, but it was just play money. Or looked like play money.
Payment certificates.
Payment certificate. 1 franc. 1 franc.
Military payment certificates, NPCs.
1 franc, 2 franc, 5 francs, 10 francs, 100 francs, and everything was paper, no coins. And you had a pocket full of paper, and it looked like monopoly money. And we were out in the woods, in the fields. We had no town, nowhere to go to, nothing to buy, so we just put it in our pocket. I took most of it and gave it to the lieutenant, and had it sent home as a money order to Dad to put in the bank, because I didn't have a need for it. And so after about the 5 days, they finally got everybody lined up, and we headed for the front lines. We crossed, it took us between 2 and 3 days to cross France, and we crossed through the edge of Luxembourg into Belgium, and finally they stopped. We could hear the cannons roaring. And they spent a night down around the Liège, in the vicinity of Liège. And then the next day they took us on up into the hills and stopped the trucks, and we got out, walked over the top and down through the trees. And the 106th Division was to replace the 2nd Infantry Division, man for man, gun for gun.
What date was this?
They started about the 11th, and I got in my position about the 13th of December. And they told us that they'd been there 30 days. They had, and with no activity since they were sent out patrols. They'd fire artillery shell over. They'd receive artillery shell occasionally, but no much activity was going on. And they had confiscated whatever they could get, and they had pretty good accommodation. They had hut there, half dug in the ground and half above the ground, with log walls and a log roof and a log of dirt roof. And they had confiscated stoves and picked up stuff up, but when they moved, they took the stoves with them. So we had the hut left, but we didn't have a stove. It had a blanket for a door. We had a gasoline bottle with a rag wick in it for light, and of course it smutted a lot. And my squad's job was the guard company headquarters. The company headquarters was the 1st Battalion headquarters company. And they were in a German bunker, concrete pillbox. Concrete pillbox had about 15 feet of concrete on the top of it. So it was supposed to be impervious artillery. It was built following World War I to protect Germany from invasion from the west. But of course, we had bigger shells now than they had in World War I.
Well, what did you eat? Did you cook?
Well, we had a kitchen up in the woods, and we got 2 meals a day. Good food. We got 2 meals a day. We'd just walk up through the woods. See, I was not on the rifle company. I was not on the forward line. We were just behind, behind the front lines, behind the what I'm talking about, the immediate line. A company, B company, C company, they were up there on the line. Now they had little hutments also with foxholes out in front of them. And a couple of men would be out there in the foxhole, and several of them back in the hutment, and then they would rotate, because they were doing, might say they were doing guard duty. They wasn't on active combat every minute of the day. But our job, my squad job, was the guard company headquarters. Yeah, observation post, which is a foxhole. We had a little roof over it to keep the snow and rain off of us, and right in front of the hut that we lived in, and right out in front of the door to the company headquarters, the pillbox. And so we pulled 2 hours duty on, 2 hours out there, 2 hours duty on, and 4 to 6 hours off. And the other boy put on. And the rest of the time we were back in the hut, trying to stay together and talking and reading and writing. Had nothing else to do.
Did you have a feeling that the war was winding down, or you didn't have any idea what was ahead of you?
I don't really remember. I really don't remember, but I don't think I had much feeling at all. We were new. We were green. We knew that it had advanced from the invasion all the way across France, and retaken France and Belgium and back. And the line was approximately on the German border then. It varied in places. Actually, where we were in Germany, because the secret line was a mile or 2 in Germany, 3 miles in Germany. And so we were on German territory, but up and down the line it varied. But it was more or less on the German border at that time, December the 13th, December the 15th of 44. And the
well, was that when were you in the Hurtgen?
Yeah, Hurtgen Forest.
But they had been to war. They had the battle was over in the Hurtgen Forest.
Well, that had been previous to the month that they stabilized.
Okay.
And they were sitting down in these emplacements. They pushed on through the most of the forest and got it back into the German border and along the Siegfried line. Some of the pillboxes the Germans were in, some we were in. Just depending on the particular situation. Where we were we had possession of the pillbox where we were. I don't know how many miles out of that secret line is, several, I don't know, it must have been 30, 40, 50 miles long, I'm not sure. And how far in the coast, then ahead, which had been for Germany, which had been west of the pillboxes, was the dragger's teeth. They were concrete cones, inverted cones, sticking above the ground, staggered, 3 rows of them. And that to keep trucks or tanks from crossing between them. And when they got to roads, they would have a gate there with a sentry post. And the gate quite often would have an iron pipe across there with electric wires through it, and it would be charged. And so you couldn't open the gate just arbitrarily. The only way you do it would be blow it up with dynamite, with explosives. But we just in one of the pillboxes there where we were. And like I said, we didn't know anything. I was a private. They gave me my PFC when we got to England, and I got my good conduct medal, and I was a PFC now, drawing $55 a month. But when we got overseas, we got another 10, so we had $65 a month. And we were raking in money.
But you couldn't do anything with it.
No.
And they paid you in that, what, military?
Well, and military script, it was war money, what we call war money. It was labeled French francs. It wasn't Belgian francs, it wasn't German, it was labeled French francs. But it was not the true French francs, it was the military francs.
Frederick, did you have any idea, or could you keep up pretty well what was going on in the Pacific?
We got the Stars and Stripes sometimes, and they had 2 editions, they had the Pacific edition and the European edition. And we would get the European edition. It would have some Pacific news in it, but it was primarily for the European reading. And it would have some war news, and it would have some home news. And I honestly don't really remember. And at that time, of course, they were still fighting fast and furious in the Pacific. It was not near over, and we were. They were way down in the Pacific in December '44. I don't remember that I knew anything. They didn't tell us, the officers didn't tell us anything. They knew what was going on. They knew where we were. I didn't know where we were. All I knew was we were on the front lines.
Well, when you got letters from home, did your mother, your dad say much about what's going on?
No, they just talked about the family and stuff, different things. They didn't talk about the war. And we couldn't write anything. I deliberately not put anything in there because they were all sensitive. And I would rather not put anything in there than to put something in and have it cut out and then wonder what I had written. They worry about what I had written and was cut out.
Well, several of the boys from out of Bulge had already been killed. Did you find out about that, the Griffin boy?
I had known that.
Oh, you knew that before?
Oh, I known that. Wiley was killed in Anzio in Italy, Wiley Taylor. And Harry Griffin was just 2 or 3 years older than me. Wiley was about the same, they were both about the same age. Harry was killed on D-Day. I had a cousin that was injured on D-Day. He was older than me, and I knew he was injured. In fact, when I knew I was going to England, or when I found out, I wrote on, and I asked for his address, hinting maybe they would know which direction I was going. We couldn't tell them where we were going, but I thought maybe the hint, and so they sent me an address, and he was in a hospital in England. When I wrote him, but never heard from him, and when later I wrote him again, never heard from him. Later wrote him again, never heard from him. And to jump ahead, after the war, I got a 3-day pass to Paris, and on the last afternoon, before I had, about 2 hours before I had to catch the train, walking down the street of Paris, ran into him face to face.
That was your cousin?
That was my cousin. And I had to catch the train, and so we had a couple of hours together. He had been moved from one hospital to another and had never received any of my mail, so that's why he didn't answer me back. I thought maybe if I found out where he was, maybe some way, somehow we could get together. But we did get together, but not accidentally, not on purpose. But he was doing all right. He was back on active duty by then. But getting back, we were on the front lines. Artillery flying every night, and not too heavy. But we would fire a few rounds over, they'd fire a few rounds back, but we were in the war. We were on the front lines. What else did you expect? I mean, of But we really didn't know what to expect, but I mean, we weren't surprised. The normal deployment of the infantry division, 3 miles on the offense and 5 miles on the defense. They had the 101st, 106th Division spread out. Oh, this is our shoulder patch, our logo. The cub of the golden lion. And
Let me see that, please.
that's the association patch. That's the cub of the golden lion.
Okay.
The division patch. We were spread out on a 21-mile front through the woods there, which is about 4 times what it should have been. In fact, my regiment had a longer front than what was normal for a division front. The generals, Eisenhower and Patton, powers to be, had decided that this was the most unlikely place that Germany would attempt, even if they could, for a counteroffensive. But Hitler had different ideas. Hitler had developed a plan in his mind, although all his generals told him it would not work. He said, yes, it will. He was the boss, and they had to follow through with it. They stole troops from the Russian front. They stole troops from the Navy. They stole troops from the Air Force, which every day they were losing ground in the Air Force. I mean, we were gaining a monopoly over them. And they got up, I forgot, 30 divisions, I think, against us, against the Allied army through that battle in that area. And they, on December 16th, they, at 5:30 in the morning, began their massive counteroffensive. His goal was to spearhead through Belgium and cut a wedge through up to Antwerp. And we had just, the Allies had just cleared the harbor and was opening it and getting it available for supplies to be shipped through. All this time we'd been trucking supplies all the way across France and Belgium to the front lines, and supply lines were getting longer and longer and more every day, and that was quite a problem. So they were just beginning to open up Antwerp, and we're just going to be able to move some supplies in to shorten the supply line. His idea was to take Antwerp and cut the British off to the north and the Americans to the south. He thought that there would be another Dunkirk, and he thought that the British would come to a peaceful terms, and then the Americans would have no reason to continue fighting if the British had come to terms, and so they would come to terms also. But he didn't know that Roosevelt and Churchill had a firm commitment that they would neither one accept any type of an agreement except an unconditional surrender. That was the only terms that that they would agree to. The Germans did not attack my company, my battalion, directly. We were in the middle of the woods. Most of they attacked north of us and south of us. They attacked companies, rifle companies in my battalion and in my regiment, and the other regiment. The 422nd was on the north. The 28th Division was north of us, and the 99th Division was to south of us, into the Luxembourg. The 422nd was at north, we were in the middle, and the 424th to the south.
All of y'all were new divisions.
All green troops, never seen combat before. Had only been on the front lines 3 days, 4 days. Some of them got in that day or two earlier than others. But we had, and so we didn't know, supposedly didn't know what to do. I mean, had not actually had combat. We had all kind of training, but had not had any combat. Boys held out the best they could. Sometimes the odds were 10 to 1. The weather was socked in, clouds, fog, and rain, and no planes were flying. The Germans broke through above us and below us, and then by the 17th, 18th, that plan was to take Saint-Vith that night of the 16th, but they didn't. And they were to take Antwerp by Christmas. That was Hitler's plan. But our boys held them off there for 2 or 3 days. And eventually by the 18th there, we were surrounded. So we couldn't go back and get supplies. They couldn't bring supplies in. They had promised them armored support, that didn't materialize. They promised some airdrops, which didn't materialize. Food, ammunition, medicine was running short
For you fellas?
for our boys, and we were in bad shape there.
Well, now, where did Bastogne fit into this?
It was on the southern side of what developed to be the Bulge. We were on the northern perimeter, and they were on the southern perimeter, or near the north. It developed the north. And in fact, I got a map here. I don't know whether it'll show up or not. Here, right here.
Now, about where were you, Frederick? Can you?
Just a minute, I can get the focus in. I was, this is St. Vincent right here. And I was right there on the front line.
And you guys were surrounded.
And we, now the 424th Regiment was to our south, and they had a position in which they were able to withdraw. Now, our companies had no place to withdraw. Immediately last time we got there, the division commander and all the regimental commanders and company commanders saw that was an error, that they needed to have a second position, but the second infantry division had been there for 30 days and had not seen any necessity in it. They contacted Corps and asked for permission and so forth and whatnot, and they were being studied, but before anything could be done about it, then the Germans attacked. So we had no, and we attacked with such force too, and they broke through some gaps in the line. Sometimes the gaps were several miles wide between units, and they broke through in gaps and managed to encircle us. Now, the 424th was able to pull back. On the morning of the 18th, this was attacked on the 16th, this was the morning of the 18th. I just sat there all day 16th and all day 17th. We were not being told anything. We heard through the grapevine now that A company or C company or something had to pull back from such and such a little town, and the next day they took it back again. But we just heard that through the grapevine. We were not told anything. And but on the morning of the 18th, we were told we were going to pull back. Pile all our bags beside a tree. Trucks would be by to pick them up, and to fall in formation. We'd had breakfast, and of course the day was getting long, further and further into the day before everything got accomplished. The day didn't start till about 8 o'clock, and it got dark about 4. 8:30, so the days were very short, and one time in the fog, in the snow, in Germany. And so the plan was, as I found out later, was to assemble back in and around division headquarters and try to assemble all the troops together into a strong fighting force to oppose the Germans and try to break. Of course, at that time, all I told to do was just fall in line and move up. Our battalion was the last battalion in line. Our company was the last company in line. I think my platoon was the last platoon in line. And we started out, by then it was afternoon. And we got covered by German machine gun fire and hunkered down until it got dark. Well, about 4 o'clock it got dark, and we moved out again. We were moving out through fields, climbing hedgerows, and when you climb a hedgerow and you get to the top, then you have to run to catch up with the boy ahead of you. And every time one climbed up, he got farther behind. So when the boy ahead of me climbed up, I was halfway up behind him. But when he got to the top, he said, "I think he went this way." And he and I and 3 or 4 behind us went over there, and wasn't nobody over there but us. And there we were, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the wintertime, in the middle of a foreign country, in the middle of a war, half a dozen so privates, PFCs.
You got separated from your unit.
Yeah, they must have gone the other way. He said, "I think we went this way." Well, we went that way, and the others were somewhere else. And so we didn't have a map. We didn't have a compass. We didn't have an officer or non-com. We didn't actually know where we had been. And we sure didn't know where we were going. So there we were. We decided just to keep going the same general direction as best we could determine. And so we did. We'd walk a while, until we got hot and tired, and we'd lay down in the snow till we got cold. And then we'd get up and walk for a while till we got hot and tired, we'd lay down until we got cold. And we managed on to about daylight. And we came to a town, little town. I don't know what town it was. I think it's over Bradshaw. I've been trying to figure out since then. I didn't know then. And we peeked down through the bushes there, and we see soldiers down there. And we looked again, and they were American soldiers. And there's 80 or 100 of them down there in all. So we walked down there and joined up with them. They had some officers, they had non-coms, they had radios, they had maps, they had compasses, they had a couple of jeeps and a half-track, they had a medic, they had a chaplain, they had a couple of wounded, they had a couple of German prisoners. So we just joined them with them, let them do the worry about where we were going, we just follow along with them.
Well, did you think the goal at that time to tell an officer?
Oh yeah, we reported into them.
You reported in?
We reported into them.
Okay.
But we were all,
That's when you were separated, your people.
Well, they were too.
Oh.
We were all surrounded. But they knew that we surrounded. We didn't know where we were. We didn't know. We just knew we were lost in the middle of the night. So they determined that the best thing to do was to try to walk out and evade the Germans as much as possible, and walk out and try to get back to the American lines. And so that's what we started out to do. Incidentally, this was the 19th. This was the day of the 19th. That afternoon at 4 o'clock, all the rest of them, beside us, that made it back to regimental headquarters, and all the 422nd, all the 423rd surrendered at 4 o'clock on the 19th.
So that was your race?
That was the day. And there we had joined up with these other boys, and we were going to try to walk out.
Well, does memory serve me correctly to say that was one of the biggest surrenders in American? That was part of your division.
I got it here somewhere. We had the dubious honor of losing the largest percentage of troops in a unit in the European theater, and a second only to Corregidor. Besides wounded and killed, we had 7,000 surrendered. And out of the two regiments, about 400 of us managed to escape through the line. Not all in one group, but I mean, staggered around in different, managed to escape. Plus the 424th Regiment, those who were not captured and not wounded, not prisoners, not killed. They came back as a unit. They were depleted in numbers, but they came back as a unit.
Now, was that when your mother was advised that you...
Well, it was a few days later than that. On that trek back with these other boys, as I said, we started out with about 80, and the line got broken several times. And when I finally reached the American lines 3 days later, it was 13 in my particular group. The line would just get broken, but can't tell you specifically at one time. But one night, 30 of us crossed the road one at a time between German trucks. They had that little blackout lights on. They couldn't shine very far. Time one truck would go by when I was running across the road. Next truck come by, you'd run further, and the second boy run across the road. So 30 of them across the road between the German trucks. They were on the move. They didn't know where we were. As long as they didn't know where we were safe. So all we had to do was to keep hidden from them. Don't distract their attention.
How long were you all missing?
Well, we started out on the 18th, and I reached the American lines on the 21st.
And in between, that's when you enlisted?
Well, not until the 21st. See, I think that was the official date that the division put those that were surrendered and those that was just missing. That was the date they put, December 21. Missing as of December 21.
Well, that's what was on the telegram.
Yeah, that was what I was on the telegram. And I found out, and I thought, see, that was the 21st, the day we came out to the American lines. These 13 of us walked up on American machine gun. And he hollered halt. And you can tell the difference in the American halt and the German halt. And so we wandered around that hug his neck. But another one, a voice behind it, which we hadn't seen, was another machine gun He said, stand still. And there we were, 13 of us, between two machine guns, trying to convince them we were Americans. Because there were German troops out there in American uniforms, doing all kind of devil, changing road signs, doing sabotage, and all sorts of things. And they had a whole group, had been trained, they were English speaking, and were been trained and they were equipped in American trucks, American uniforms, and everything. Their signal was they didn't wear a helmet to the Germans. So the Germans knew that they didn't have a helmet, that they were German troops in American uniform. And so that's how they knew that the Germans could tell whether it was the American uniform or whether it was the Germans. But we didn't know they were out there at that time. We developed it later. In fact, one day when I was on guard duty on the 14th or 15th along in there, on guard duty company headquarters, this big blonde lieutenant came walking down the path. He said, which way are they coming? I said, I don't know, and I didn't. He said, we didn't see company down here? I said, I don't know. The company, find out the company headquarters. No, I didn't go on down here. Well, I didn't know anything about the war then. I mean, about the situation and all. But I know now that he was a German in American uniform, speaking English, trying to get it, walking through there, trying to get information where we were located on. But we came out to the American lines out.
That was on the 21st.
On the 21st. All that day we stayed in, when we convinced them we were Americans, they called a truck in and took us into town, St. Vitt. And it was under barrage by the Germans. Shells were falling. We stayed in the company headquarters there all day trying to thaw out and warm up. And that night, they put us back on line. But about midnight, we evacuated the town and gave it to the Germans. We evacuated, got out of town, and American tanks and so forth. And we were down in Foxhole, down ahead of the tanks on the fire line. And finally, things quieted down, and then they moved back a little further. And we were riding on the back of the tanks, moved out, and I was ready to come home. I was ready to go. I didn't want to stop, and they stopped. And I said, what you stop me for? I said, we're going to have a tank battle here about dawn. I said, not me sitting on the back of this tank. So my two buddies now, we got on the road and kept walking on back. Now there were other boys out from our company and all that we knew that came out with us. Now we didn't know what happened to them. We found out later they managed to make it all the way back to division headquarters. And they reported into division headquarters, and division headquarters knew they got out. So here we were the morning of the 22nd now, walking down the road, and this convoy of trucks come by. It's our other regiment, 424. So we jump on with them and stay with them. Report into the regiment adjutant, but he doesn't report us to division. And division don't know we got out. That's why they sent the telegram home. Because the regiment adjutant of the 424th that we reported to didn't report us back into division. We stayed with them the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and morning of the 25th, Christmas Day. The kitchen cooked the last food, and was out of food. And they loaded us up on trucks and moved into a town. I have no idea what the name of that town was. And they went back looking for some quartermasters to get some more supplies. Well, they built us in some houses there in this town with the civilians. We were behind the combat line. And we looked up, and lo and behold, these other boys from our company that had gone back to division were assigned to this company that we just arbitrarily joined up with. And so here we were Christmas Day, and no supply, no food. Well, we knew that the tank boys had a kitchen. So Bill and Pearlie and I, my two buddies, we got out, we scavenged the town until we found where the kitchen was. We asked them, what time are you going to serve? Said, about 4 o'clock. Okay. So we go back to the house and stay in the house there until about 4 o'clock. We didn't tell the other boys anything. Long about 4 o'clock, we go back down there. We fall in line and we get our Christmas done. Turkey dressing and all the trimmings. And then we go back. Well, that night they load us up on the trucks and take us back on line again. This time we were, I don't know how many miles we rode, and I found out later where it was. It took us up on the backside of a hill in some woods and put us out. We climbed the top of the hill, down through the woods, out into some fields, and dug foxholes. And the next morning, the 26th, beautiful day, sun shining, airplanes were flying, had begun to fly again. thousands of planes were flying over every day. I think it said 100,000. I don't know, you just couldn't count them. All going east in the morning, and in the afternoon, all going west, going back to England, bombing Germany. As well as doing, some of them were bombing on the German spearhead down. And so we sat there all in the sunshine, bitter cold. There we were, there was a road down ahead of it. We were on the side of a low sweeping valley. The road ran through the middle of it, and some town off to our right. And on the other hill on the other side were Germans, 3 or 5 miles away. Well, our rifle wouldn't shoot that far, and so we didn't bother them, they didn't bother us. We just sat there in the sunshine, even though it was cold. It was, I took all my galoshes, overshoes, they got gotten wet, and they froze stiff. I couldn't put them back on. My canteen froze solid, so I had to throw it away. They gave us sea rations, and we would have beans, hash, stew, and cheese. And the cans were frozen, and our hands were frozen. And we managed to have the little key on the bottom of it, sorted on the bottom, and managed to somehow get the key off and hook it on that tab and get 1 or 2 turns, just enough to get the hole, catch it in our teeth and rip the tops of the cans off. Then we take our trench knife and chip the frozen beans, the frozen stew, and frozen hash out and eat it. Canteen was frozen, but it didn't work for water, because we had to just dip up a handful of snow. We didn't have any shortage of water from that, but just eat snow. And we stayed there these 3 days, 5 days. Every day I prayed I catch pneumonia. Because if you catch pneumonia, you go to the hospital, and penicillin will cure it. I couldn't even catch the sniffles. I guess all the germs are frozen too. So we did get our hot Christmas dinner though. Half of us went back up the hill, through the woods, and over the top of the hill. And they had brought in the food in insulated pots. And we got our chicken, turkey and dressing and all the trimmings. Then they came down and the other half went back and they got that done. We got 1 hot meal during that week. And about the 30th, they loaded us up again and hauled us off again. We went back into Belgium, we were back behind the line, we were off the line then, into another Belgian town. And we were billeted in these houses. And let's see, where it was about the 30th of December. We, in this house that my platoon was in, we had 20 or 25 of us in this house. The typical Belgian farmhouse. Now that farmhouse is all clustered around in another community. They're not scattered about one at a time out through the country. That farm is the house and the barns and so forth right around there. That's what they call the farm. I don't know what they call the land that they go out to tend. But so that we were in this farmhouse and had, in the downstairs we had two rooms, a kitchen, dining room combination, and a living room. Upstairs were 2 bedrooms. Of course, there's no bathrooms. And so the sergeant and lieutenant took the girls' bathroom, and the girls went in with Mom and Papa. There were 2 girls, there was Mom and Papa and 2 girls, about 12 and 14. They gave me this picture later, because I didn't get the picture then. They didn't speak English, we didn't speak French. But we conversed, and we had a good time. Some of the boys that had that, we had left everything out we had on the line, but these 424th boys brought out bags by the bubble gum and popcorn. And we shared with them, and they shared what little bit they had with us. And like I said, we were there till about the 30th. And when we started to leave, I had a female letter in my pocket, and I got the girls to write their name on the back of the female letter. This is the original letter, 50-odd years ago. Mademoiselle Celine Dumont, Ocean Clavier, Province de Liège, Belgique. Mademoiselle Marcel Dumont, Ocean Clavier, Province de Liège, Belgique. I put the letter in my pocket, I brought it home, put it up in the souvenirs, and never tried to contact them because I figured they grew up, married, changed their names, moved to somewhere else, and I'd never be able to find them if I wanted to. I didn't have the money and no reason to go back over there, and I didn't go back. But in 1989, I did, and I found one of them. But I'll tell you a little about that later. During the 1st of January, not the first day, but I mean in the early days, between the 1st and the 10th now, the missing action list came out. And we were anxious to look at the list to see which of our friends, buddies, were known dead, and we assumed all the rest of them were missing, were captured. Well, we looked on this, and lo and behold, our name was on the list. So we raised Cain, and they finally sent another telegram home. They had sent one home, and they received the telegram one afternoon, at home. Mom and Dad received the telegram one afternoon. And the next day, that said I was missing in action, date on the 21st of December. On the next day, the next morning, they received a letter from me that I had written on the 31st of December. So they assumed I must be okay. So after we found out we were on the list, and raised Cain, and they did get through channels, and they did finally send another telegram. I don't know what dates that Mom and Dad actually received the first telegram and the second telegram. But the second telegram just said I was back in active duty. Had no excuse, no reason, no apology, no nothing. Just I was back in active duty. But about this time, my buddies and I got a chance to go to sick call. First time we'd had to go on sick call. Well, Bill and my feet were white, toes white, looked like a piece of white side meat. And Purdy, his toe would turn black. And all the doctors got excited about that. They sent him on back to, he never come back again. He just went straight on to a hospital, and back to another hospital, and back to another hospital, and finally wound up back in the States here. And he went to visit Bill's folk, and wrote Mom and Daddy several times. And they gave him a 30-day furlough for his feet to heal. They couldn't do anything about it. It just takes time. And he went to Maine, on his home. When he got back, they gave him another 30-day furlough, and he went to see Bill's folk, and he got back, and they wanted to give him another 30-day furlough. He said, I ain't got any money. I want another 30. But he finally got it, and he wound up in the camp, Atterbury, the camp that we had left from, in the office there, issuing discharges to some of the boys when they came back through camp there.
Well, is that the same, you came back, you didn't come back in January of
Oh,
'46.
that was a year later. That was a whole another year. But the German advance actually stopped about Christmas Day when the planes began to fly. Now, of course, it took them approximately another 20 or 30 days to push it back to where they started from. But the advance was stopped. Now, the advance stopped primarily for several reasons, but because the airplanes came out, because it had time for more troops to come in to defend, and because they were running out of gasoline. They had very short supplies of gasoline, and they were banking on capturing gasoline dumps. They never did. They came within a mile of one of them and didn't know it was there and missed it. And now you see the movie, The Battle of the Bulge, that was out probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe 20 now, with Henry Fonda. That, they didn't give it a name and all, but that was about the 106th Division, and the 28th and the 99th. It could have been any one of them. It was basically true because it had a lot of story involved in it. But basically it was true. And they glamorized it a good bit, which you do in movies anyway. But that was the conditions and circumstances of that. After we've been back there, they moved around a couple of times, and then on the 9th of January, we went back on the offense. And my company, A company of 424th Regiment, was in the attack on Cooley. And we were only half strength or less to start with. The company was supposed to have 350 men, we had about 150 men. And the battle was so fierce that day, we lost our company commander, the battalion adjutant was wounded, the regimental adjutant was wounded. I'm not sure how many was killed or wounded. But that night we pulled back, and C Company came up. And they tried their luck on the 10th. And their luck wasn't much better than ours was on the 9th. And so then the 11th, we were supposed to go back up and double up with what was left of C Company and attack again. And the first sergeant said, oh yeah, Smallwood, you and Tucker, you're transferred. You're transferred to anti-tank company. Just stay in town here until Chuck will pick you up in the morning. So on the morning of the 13th of January, we were division had found out where we were, and they had, instead of assigning us to A Company where we were all the time, they assigned us to anti-tank company. I'll never figure that one out yet. Had no training, no experience, no knowledge of anti-tank, but we were assigned to anti-tank company. They came, picked us up, and we joined up with them. We stayed in the house, generally at the crossroads, with a fire in it, where we could stay warm. The gun was set up at the crossroads, covering the crossroads. We'd have 2 men on guard duty, and on for 2 hours, and 4 to 6 hours off. And we never saw a German tank or truck, never fired a shot, never had occasion to. And so we stayed with the anti-tank company then from the January the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th there until in the latter part of March when we pulled back into France. We during that time they were pushing. Of course, they pushed the Germans back to get to the original line, and then they pushed them on a little further. Had never crossed the Rhine River. But just about at that time, I'm not sure the exact date, but the Remagen Bridge was the first bridge that was captured intact and was able to cross, that the German didn't blow. It was wide, everything was supposed to blow it, but for some reason or other, some of the boys found it was still there and ran across, to risk their lives to run across, and disabled the detonations. And they captured that bridge intact. They would try some other beachheads, or crossings, but that was the first bridge they were able to catch it intact. And it's about that same time, the end of March, I'm not sure the exact date. And they brought what was left of us of the 106th Division, which is what was left of the 424th Regiment. And we had a couple of companies of artillery also. But that was only the infantry regiment left. Back into France, all the way back to Rennes, R-E-N-N-E-S, Rennes, France. And we stayed there for several weeks. We began, they reactivated the division. They brought fresh troops in from the States, coast artillery ballers, anti-aircraft artillery ballers, which the Germans did not have many planes anymore, but they needed many anti-aircraft. Air Force ballers, that cadets that had been training for the future. They thought the end was near, so they weren't going to need them in the future. And we had all kind of and draftees brought in, and they reactivated the regiments, those 2 regiments and the 424th. And we few who had gotten out were usually cadre in our original regiments. And I was offered a sergeant's job in service company, but Bill made him supply sergeant up in the regional headquarters company, 1st Battalion. And I wanted to stay with him, so I told him to dump it. I'd go back to the 1st Battalion headquarters company. And so they let me go back there as mechanic, but somebody else in there already had the corporal rank, and they couldn't give me the corporal rank. They said, well, don't worry about it, I'll just be a PFC. So I stayed back up there, and I stayed at PFC the rest of the time. And Bill and I stayed together then, continued to stay together. But we trained, they began to train these new ballers and all, trying to get them into a unit, a cohesive unit and all. And about that time, the European War ended, May the 8th, European War ended. And VE Day, that was a big day. There was 2 submarine nests on the southern side of the Brittany Peninsula, Saint-Nazaire and Lorient. And they had been holed up there since the invasion in June of the year before. And this was May of the following year. So when Germany surrendered, they surrendered also. And our boys went down to receive the prisoners. I didn't go down, I was a mechanic. I didn't go down and received it. I never saw a German. Never got a gun, never got a souvenir. But Bill and I just stayed up there until we were in the supply room. And so after we received all the prisoners, I'm not sure what the date was, but they moved it back up into Germany. And we were down in the, and I forgot where we were in Germany anyway. And so, but then after we got that done, the big push then was to reduce the armed forces for as rapidly as possible. Of course, now everybody wanted to go home first, but had priorities. Those who had been over there the longest and so forth had priority over those who had been there less. Some of them had been overseas 4 years, fought all the way through North Africa. So they had priority. Since our regiment, 106, had just been reactivated with all new men, and most of them had very few months of service, they decided to transfer us out to the other units and take all these priority boys and fill the unit up and just use it as a vehicle to get them home. And so they took them home and discharged them and deactivated the division. And that was the end of the 106th Division. So they shifted us around from one division, from one regiment, or one unit, or one outfit to another, and wound up in Reims, France. Reims, France is where the Germans signed the surrender in the Little Red Schoolhouse in Reims, France. And Paul Marin was the worst of Massachusetts. He and I were the two mechanics. We had a garage downtown, Reims, France. We were doing MP duty. Had about a half dozen or a dozen motorcycles and jeeps during road patrol. And we had a French mechanic. He had a little motorbike. He rode in and out, and I'm sure he got all the petrol from us. and we worked on the trucks. And he worked on the motorcycles. I didn't know anything about a motorcycle, but in the afternoon we'd get out and ride around a little bit. And then we got a bigger garage. A few weeks later, we got a bigger garage. We had a two-story garage, and they kept all the jeeps upstairs. We had a room underneath the ramp, and that was our bedroom. And we would stay in there. We had German prisoner mechanics. They'd put them out on the street in the morning, no guards, no guns, and they would walk in and they would work all day. In the afternoon, they would go back out and truck pick them up, take them back out to the prison camp. And they were being sent home as rapidly as they could be assimilated back into society. They couldn't let them all go home the first day because there wasn't anything back in Germany to go home to. They had to have some way to make a living, to work, and so forth. So they kept them in these prison camps until they could assimilate them back into some kind of a society.
The war in Japan.
I skipped that.
That's all right.
Yeah, they were going to send us straight to the Pacific, since we had just been reactivated with all new men. Some of the units actually came back to the States, had a 30-day furlough, and went to the Pacific. And they said that we didn't need to come home for furlough, because most of them just left the States. They were going to send us direct. All this time, see, they're being trained. Well, then in August, the Pacific War was over. So that was when they started discharging. When the Pacific War was over, VJ Day. Then they were ready to send them all home. They had to have some for occupation, they had to have some for other things, but they didn't need everybody still. So,
You came home in January of 46.
well, that was in Reims. We were just waiting transportation all through the winter of 45. A bad storm on the Atlantic, and they had a lot of ships were not running, and what was taking the boys that had the high priorities and all. They sent the 82nd Airborne, I believe it was, home to January 1 parade. And so they had New Year's parade down 5th Avenue on January the 1st, and but we were still sitting over there in France. But Daddy had gotten sick, had phlebitis, and it was not critical or threatening, life-threatening, but Dr. Welch had put in for me an emergency furlough through the Red Cross to come home. I had plenty of points, plenty of priority to get discharged, I just didn't have priority to get home. And so it sat and sat, and I didn't hear from it, I didn't hear from it. Mama keep writing, and Dr. West was pursuing it. And finally, on the, must have been the 26th or 20 or something of December, they called my name out. Go home. And so I was already out there in camp being processed for coming home, just waiting for transportation. I picked up my bags and my paperwork and got on the train, rode to Paris, sat down to the next train to Le Havre, and went to Le Havre. I had to wait 3 days to catch the boat, process papers, and they loaded 2 Liberty ships. A Liberty ship was 550 feet long. Queen Elizabeth was 1,089 feet long, I think. Queen Elizabeth had 16,000 soldiers. The Liberty ship had 500 soldiers. The Queen Elizabeth took 5 days to cross. We took 16 days to cross. We got to New York, finally. And took us out to Camp Kilburn, New Jersey. And then they got us broken up and going in every direction and sent down to Camp Gordon, Georgia. And got to Camp Gordon, and I had a 30-day furlough. See, I was traveling on a 30-day furlough pass. And he said, well, you can get your furlough and be out of here today. I said, well, how long will it take to get a discharge? He said, 72 hours. I said, I'll wait. I'm not that big a hurry to go home. And so he tried me to sign up to organized reserves, he tried me to sign up for everything. And give me all kinds of physical examinations, and finally I got my discharge on my 21st birthday, January 23rd, 1946.
You had a
On my 21st. I'd been in the service for 2.5 years, 14 months overseas, and got my discharge on my 21st birthday.
Frederick, you really had an experience, and we really appreciate what you've done.
Well, I got a little follow-up if you got time for it.
You got how much? You're about out, are you?
Got about 15 more minutes.
Well, in 1989, I got back over to Belgium, and I got rented me a car in Liège, and I got a provincial map, taking the letter with me, and I rode down to Ocean-Slavia. Couldn't speak French, they couldn't speak English, I couldn't see it, nothing looked familiar, and driving around, and I saw the house where I stayed in 45 years before, and stopped there. And the lady there had just finished milking cows, and she didn't speak English, but I showed her the letter, and she, with the name and address, oh, oui. So she goes in the house and telephones, and then she tells me to follow her on her bicycle, and she takes me over to another farm. This is the farm where Marcel is living now, and she had married, and that was her husband's farm. After when the 2 girls grew up and married and moved away, Mama and Papa died, they sold the farm that they'd been raised on to this lady that's living there now. And so I met up with Marcel, and this is her daughter, younger daughter, Celine. Celine, and her husband. Now, they spoke pretty good English, and so they translated, and we had a grand old time reunion. They wanted me to bring Janie back, and come back to visit and bring Janie back. So in '90 we did, when we toured Germany, and attended the Passion Play. And we corresponded off and on, and wanted to come back with it. In 2000, we were planning to go back to the Passion Play again. Now I began to do my homework then, trying to find out something about what happened. I had not cared and not tried and knew almost nothing about where I had been, what I had done, where we were. So I found out that the division had an association, and I had joined it, and began to read stories and articles that some of the other boys had written about their experiences, and read several books by about the division, by the different fellows. And so we began to find out more and more about where we had been. The Belgian people are most appreciative of the Americans. And they can't thank us enough for liberating them from the evil conqueror. That's their word, not mine. And every town, almost every town, no matter how small, has a monument. And the monument is to some unit or some outfit, and not necessarily of our division, but of some unit of the American Army, and commemorating them for liberating them. And those monuments were made by the local people at their expense, and they're beautified, and plantings around there, and kept up after all these. Now, we were there 57 years, and it still looks good. This is the man squatting there with me is Henri Robusta. He is secretary for CRIBBLE, Center for Information and Research for the Battle of the Ardennes. That's what they call it, the Battle of the Ardennes. We call it the Battle of the Bulge. And they try to preserve the history and all of the battle and learn back. Another aspect too, I had brought a German pocket watch home with me. And I began to think, well, if I could find out where, and in the back of the watch was the name Franz Hunschen and Düring. Well, I assumed Franz Hunschen was the original owner and Düring was the town. But I didn't speak German and didn't know how to get in touch with it, see if any of the family was still living. But if I could, I would give it back to them. But I didn't know how to get in touch with the burgomaster Düring, so I emailed my division webmaster if he had any suggestions. He said, we're trying the 75th Division web page. So the webmaster there has an address, email address at the bottom, so I contacted him. He's a private investigator. He checked up with Düring there, and the Hunschen jewelry store is still in operation. The old man, Franz Hunschen, had opened the jewelry store in 1896, and his great-grandsons are operating it now with their mother. They are duels. The mother had been a Hunschen. She was married to Duell, and she and the two sons, Peter and Guido Duell, operate the jewelry store. And I got in touch with them. He referred me to them. We began to communicate on the email. I sent him a picture. Sam Griffin took a picture, did a picture. I emailed it to him. And then I went out to the cottage, and Ben White took some more, and I sent it to them, and they began to research the family, and they determined that it was our great-grandfather's watch. And so they met us on June the 28th at Reims, at Liège, Belgium, and I returned the watch.
How did you come about the watch?
On the boat coming home, I had me a German pistol, and I decided, what in the world I need a pistol? So another boy on the boat coming home had the watch, and I swapped him the pistol for a watch. And so I had the watch for all these 40 some odd years, 50 years. And when I gave them the watch, they gave me this, said, you brought us an old watch, we brought you a new watch. And they were really excited about it. And they brought me a genealogy chart of the family all the way back from the original Franz Hunschen on down to the children now, the great-great-great-grandchildren, and that they had worked up. They had the article put in the newspaper about me, about the watch. And they sent me the copy of the newspaper. Peter, the older of the two boys, is a master watchmaker. So he restored the watch, and they made a special case for it. They remodeled the store, and they placed it up in the front of the store on display with a story. Along with the two boys was the younger father-in-law, and he came along to translate. But in talking with him, I found out he was older than I am, and he was in the 3rd Volksgrenadier Division, attacking us in the Battle of the Bulge. Actually, his unit was just a few miles north of us. He didn't wasn't attacking my particular company. And he, after the war, he became a civil engineer to help rebuild the country. And he's quite a fellow. And he does etching work. He's retired now, and he does etching work. And he gave me this print that he, for Christmas last year, that he had done. He sells these prints to make some supplemental money. Well, this is the print he gave me of the city of Dury, the new city rising up from out of the ashes of the old city. It was destroyed by German and by British and American bombers. Just level all the downtown area level. But so after we left them, we go down to our Belgian friends and have another grand reunion down there. And this was taken back 2000 now when we were there in 2000. That's about it. But on September the 12th, the day after the attacks in New York and the Pentagon, I got an email from Harold saying he had attended a memorial service at the cathedral in Berlin by television, and there were 20,000 Germans, and those that couldn't get in went outside the streets, and they know what war is. He's quite a fellow. We communicate back and forth.
Again, we want to thank you for sharing your thought, all this with us, Frederick. And we want to, on behalf of the American people, thank you for what you did during the Second World War.
Well, I don't think I did that much. I went when I was called. I served where I was assigned.
Well,
I was there. But I was very, very, very lucky.
thank you again.
I was not.